Cinesmack contains spoilers of the spoiling type. If you don't want your spoilers spoiled, please turn back now. Otherwise, enjoy the show!
Gentlemen, let's broaden our minds. Lawrence?
Ladies and gentlemen! Welcome to the main event! This is Cinesmack! And the winner is...
Hello, Cinesmacketeers, and welcome to bout number 68 of the podcast about films by filmmakers. I am your host, Mike Keeler. Joining me tonight is our panel of award-winning judges. First, filmmaker and owner of One Genome Short Productions, Gabriel Rohlwald.
What, is this World War III?
Second, filmmaker and owner of Cheshire Moon Films, Tom Haggis.
Sweaty palm, a lot of sweaty palms in here.
Third, calling in from his walkabout, producer and owner of Outpost 515 and the architect of this episode, Samuel Pace-Tuomi.
Mom already got us mass. Yeah, Silver Shamrock.
It's good to have you back, Sam.
Hey, good to be back.
Last but not least, some say that he is part Yeti. Others, that he directs films as Yui Ball. All we know is he's our tame Albino Typhoon. He's called Tosh Dillinger.
In honor of Chocolate Chip Charlie, the rest of the podcast, I like to be called the White Chip Albino Surprise. So
White Chip Albino Surprise. All right.
Wow, that's quite the moniker.
I gotta write that down. Oh, that's great.
Can I?
Too shocking in the 80s, though. 80s, the albino chip would have blown their fucking mind. Sorry to get so blue so quickly.
What is it? The albino chip what?
The White Chip Albino Surprise.
White Chip Albino Surprise. All right.
There is no Tosh in this podcast.
I don't want to know that surprise. That's a surprise that can stay secret.
Yeah.
Hey,
That's
Tom.
surprise. I need an adult.
Tom.
Yes.
I need to get. Excuse me a second. I get something out of the way real quick.
Yes.
I just wanted to say that Hansel and Gretel still sucks. Okay, well, keep going on.
Wow. Starting the smack talk right away.
And here we go.
I can't believe we're talking about these two movies and you bring up Hansel and Gretel. Hansel and Gretel's way better than these two movies.
All right. Well,
Just remember, I bring 15 extra people to this podcast when I'm on it. So those 15 listening, hey, how you doing? Tom still sucks.
You know, the little people you draw on your fingers with a ballpoint pen don't count.
Oh, it's on, Tom.
wait, where do the other 5? Never mind. I don't want to know. All right, let's find out what we're talking about tonight.
Ladies and gentlemen, consumers and evil corporations, welcome to the main event! Tonight, we have a chilling plot versus a wicked scheme in a beggar's night brawl to decide who will get bugged out and who screams for ice cream. In the first quarter, from 1985, directed by Larry Cohen, starring Michael Moriarty, Andrea Morovici, and Garrett Morris. The Stuff! In the second quarter, from 1982, directed by Tommy Lee Wallace, starring Tom Atkins, Stacey Nelkin, and Dan O'Halloran. Halloween 3, Season of the Witch.
When Sam suggested these two films, I looked him up, and he was definitely right. They were quirky little horror films. And I actually enjoyed watching them. Of course, I only got to watch half of one of them, so that I'll wear that shame on my shirt so everyone can see it. Otherwise, let's start off with our first round, which is writing.
I think the writing on both of these was pretty haphazard. I feel like they had kind of a basic concept, like they knew what the kind of basic idea that they wanted to get across. But as far as storyline, kind of the order in which the story is told.
All right, who forgot to turn off their ringtone?
Oh man, was it? It wasn't Silver Shamrock. Commercial.
No, but it could be like an updated version of that, like for the reboot that's inevitable, even of this lesser known and respected title, I must say.
Right. Yes.
I really have to tell you guys that Mike was like, what would be good for Halloween? You like, horror movies and whatnot. And I said, these two films, because they're not necessarily gory, and there's something from my childhood that was always like, it was one of those offbeat things. And I think you're so right about the writing, Gabe. Like, both of these are not serviced very well by their writing. Mm-hmm. I think Halloween 3 actually is Season of the Witch in some ways. Just that there's a little bit more of a story there, where I liked a lot of the cast and the stuff, which we'll talk about, I'm sure. But was there one of them that you thought drew you more into the writing?
I found the stuff more entertaining from a writing standpoint overall. But then near the end, for me, it really kind of fell apart because it seemed really haphazard at the end.
Yes. It fell apart at the end.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, more than it had already, been kind of disjointed. But I just really felt like it was kind of fun and entertaining, and I didn't take it too seriously. And then at the end, it kind of lost me a little bit. And it had to do with, some of the writing just didn't work for me at the end. But I found it more entertaining overall, just me personally. And I just want to make a quick note about these. Sam, you were talking about how they're both kind of maybe overlooked and maybe underrated a little bit. I was flipping through the channels the other day, and I don't know what it was, if it's AMC or what channel it was, but they were showing a whole bunch of horror movies in a row. And they were showing the Halloween movies, and I'm like, oh, great, I'm going to be able to record this. I'll be able to record Halloween 3 and watch it and not have to rent it. No, it went Halloween, Halloween 2, Halloween 4.
Mm-hmm.
It's so weird that they just completely skipped it.
Everybody hates. A lot of people hate on it. Not everybody. There's a devoted fan base, but I'm interested in, like, what do you think, like, Tom, and like, what about the writing on the stuff?
I liked the writing on the stuff. I thought the character of Mo was pretty good, and Chocolate Chip, as racist stereotype as they made him, was pretty good. I can't believe that was his name. I was just like, I watched it through my hand, and then the thing that Paul Sorvino says to him
the
at
Chocolate Chip Factory.
Yeah, I understand that, but I don't think they would have called him Chocolate Chip if, it had been Bill Murray playing him. Anyway, like the thing that Paul Sorvino says to him in the radio station.
Oh my God, yeah.
Like,
That was awkward.
Yeah, weird.
I'm like, that wasn't in the script, was it? Just tell me that Paul Sorvino's really racist and he improvised that line.
Yeah.
Like, so
well, and I can see if you're creating a character that's intended to be racist, but it kind of came out of left field a little bit. Like, there weren't any hints that maybe he might be racist, and then all of a sudden he's just full blown.
Right? It's just like out of nowhere. It's like, oh,
yeah,
okay.
It was kind of weird.
yeah, he didn't make any, unusual comments about the cab drivers or anything. So it was just kind of like, it's just certain.
Right, the one that sounded like Fat Albert.
Yeah,
that's what I was impersonating. I don't remember his exact line, but it was something like that. It's like, what? they got like Fat Albert in here for the.
And he offered them a reasonable tip for a cab ride from the airport, I thought. So
10% was
That was
10%,
right?
10%, yeah.
And get the damn receipt too.
So I
You
thought
gotta get the receipt.
I thought the writing and the stuff, I guess, it was one of those things where the stuff really did a good job of not, out kicking its coverage. They knew what it was, and they went for it and had fun with it. I'm off yogurt for a while, probably, much to the chagrin of my gastroenterologist. But I thought the writing and stuff was more entertaining. I thought the idea, I guess I don't really understand what the people in Halloween 3 wanted to do. I mean, I know it was revenge for Irish Halloweens, and the Irish have enough things to be vengeful for. I don't think they need to start digging up stuff. And instead, Stonehenge isn't in Ireland. Nobody brought that up.
But it does have special powers.
Sure.
Doesn't matter where it is, it has special power.
And now there's ropes around it. You can't go up and chip a little piece off of Stonehenge because of this movie. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks, Halloween 3.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I was wanted the memento.
I liked how they passed over, it's quite a story how we got this here. I want to know how they did get there. That's a big piece of, did they get it on a boat and then they sailed it over and then semi it to the small town? I like to know these facts.
Yeah, that was a convenient. that's convenient writing there, where they're like. We don't want to even think about this. We're just gonna gloss over it really quick. So
it's we had no problem. What?
Yeah.
Got it. It's easy.
Can we talk about the start though of the stuff? Okay.
Yeah.
If there was bubbling white stuff on the ground,
Would you put it in your mouth?
Why would you eat it?
It can totally bird shit. Why would you put your? Oh, this is pretty good bird shit. Yeah, let's box this up.
I wonder what this is. I'll put it in my mouth.
Right, and he works for a petroleum company, so he knows that there's oil and petroleum around there. It's and oh god, it is.
It wasn't
fun.
Yeah,
the writers could have
quite an abrupt start too.
Yeah,
they
it
could have
was.
come up with a better way to. They could have come up with a better way to introduce where the stuff came from,
or
Right.
how he tasted it. Instead of just finding some strange substance on the ground and putting it in your mouth. Maybe it's bubbling up. Maybe it's bubbling up and he looks at it more closely and it bubbles up into his face and it happens to get in his mouth and then he's like, something. I don't know.
Right, maybe they were mining like they were for whatever else. And they hit this geyser of the stuff. Some gets in his mouth, and it,
And he's like, oh, it's kind of...
What?
Are we turning into a Japanese bukkake movie? Or
yeah. Let's go somewhere else.
All things to all people, right?
So sticky and salty.
Wouldn't you have loved to be on the set that first day of shooting, and just been like, "So what's my motivation for putting this in my mouth? Just put it in your fucking mouth. We only have 7 days to get this shot."
Yeah, just
Well,
eat
and then
it,
there's
say
the
your lines.
consistency. Is it frozen? Is it not? Is it
right in the supermarket?
Is it
Yeah, there's a
melty?
wire-
Yeah,
It's just it is all over the board there, and then it's
Is it
suddenly
gluten free?
Golden Girls are popping up at the end out of it. It's no good.
yeah. That was the part of the grocery store where I was like, "Oh, it's in the freezer case and it's over on that shelf." What?
And it's being stacked, and it's it's in the
and as
cooler.
soon as he knocks it off the shelf, it's liquid on the ground. Now,
Yeah.
granted, that's more production side of things, but they're all over the board there.
Yeah.
I was impressed of how quickly they discovered it, and then it was everywhere after that. That's so fast. That was amazing. That was just
Did they
we
fly any
No,
amount
it
of
just-
time?
we flashed to black, and then we were at a commercial for it. It's just that fast, and it's everywhere. So it was
Yeah.
major.
And I went back. I had to watch that part twice, and I was like, "Did I look away when it said 5 years later or anything?" I watched part of the movie twice, and I'm very angry about that.
It travels. You travel through time in it very quickly.
I have a problem with the writing, specifically in the stuff when when they send the kid upstairs with the stuff and he dumps it out. Okay, well, he fills it with shaving cream. Why does he fill it all the way up with shaving cream? They thought, why wasn't he just empty? Maybe one bite left in there, and then he wouldn't have to go puke it up. I'm just like, this kid is fucking dumb.
Yeah.
And he was obviously written that way, so I was like, oh my god.
All right. You guys have anything else to add for writing for the stuff or Halloween 3 Season of the Witch?
Do you think that Halloween 3, instead of the mask business, they should have just been in the robot business? Because, I mean, some of those robots or androids were impressive.
Yeah, they were.
You think you could profit ridiculous on those androids, but Disney would love those. But I don't know. It seems like they were in the wrong business for masks. But
Well, I think the masks, they've got to masks. Then, to me, Halloween 3 was a big, daring attempt at a motion picture because they weren't necessarily going to keep Michael Myers alive. So they were kind of asked to put together this kind of a Halloween tale that would change yearly and maybe come back to Michael Myers. But it's such a weird offshoot that a lot of people don't like. And what I appreciate about it is they create this kind of fun folklore of, and it's also kind of a commentary at that time of the way that television had really bound everyone together at one point, and they were kind of blind to what was going on around them. So I think there are some points that I would give to Season of the Witch. I think there's some merit there.
They kind of did with the Halloween franchise what Super Mario Brothers 2 did, where you put it in, you're like, what the fuck is this? This is not Super Mario Brothers. This is nothing like Super Mario Brothers. Where the fuck is Bowser? So
there is some withdrawal, seriously, because a lot of people, when they went to see it, thought Michael Myers was going to show up, and they were super pissed and asked for refunds. And so, while it ended up doing okay, I guess I could look up the numbers, but I think people were always like, "Where's Michael Myers?"
Yeah, it didn't do very well. So that's why Part 4 has Michael Myers in it. Because originally, like you said, John Carpenter had this idea of doing once a year they were going to bring out a special Halloween tale like this was. But since it underperformed, they went right back to Michael Myers.
you got to do that with the second one, like Super Mario Brothers.
Right. But wasn't John Carpenter on the score on this one, I believe?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
So in some way, it was with his blessing. It wasn't like we're going to hijack this and make all the money we can out of it. If it was released with any other title, and this is what I think we should roll into all the other categories. If this film was released as just as Season of the Witch and not Halloween 3, I think it might have been received a lot differently by lots of audiences.
Yeah, that's quite possible. Yeah.
Right, because the Halloween part set up some expectations.
Right.
That weren't met.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and I think there's some underlying themes that are kind of interesting in it. For sure. With the television and almost kind of being addicted to television and that kind of thing.
And how the Irish are pissed off about everything.
Right.
Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, they got to, well, and mask making must be extremely profitable if they have enough money to make all these androids that Tosh was talking about.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't a very good business plan.
It's got to be extremely profitable.
Yeah, it was not a good business plan. I don't know any bank that would give that guy a loan.
Right, but I guess if it seemed to me that it was androids who were making most of the stuff. So I guess if you make the androids and then you don't have to necessarily pay them.
Pay anyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is like my 100th watching, so I was actually thinking that this time, how many of these people are supposed to be androids? And, on the direction side, was there any light to that? Could you be a little more robotic and not necessarily spill out the whole subplot line, but someone had a forethought in there? That's what came to my mind. I thought it'd be a cool question.
And obviously he's given no thought to technological singularity, at which point the androids take over and kill us all. But, he's only thinking about profit, not the good of the humankind, dickhead.
All right, let's put it to a vote. Gabe.
I found the stuff more entertaining from a writing standpoint, so that it gets my vote.
All right. Tom.
Yeah, ditto for the stuff.
Sam.
Well, I'm not going to stand for any talking about darks and darkies and servants and stuff, and why the kid have to eat all that shaving cream anyway? It doesn't make a lick of sense. I'm going for the mass and Season of the Witch.
For the record, the doctor did sexually assault that nurse at the beginning.
And then he was all like, yeah.
So
I think that they were cozy.
He was cozy with a number of them.
He was quite the ladies' man, apparently.
I know.
It's
macho.
It's a white chip albino surprise, not Tosh. Remember that?
White chip albino surprise.
That's better. I'm gonna go with Sam and go Halloween 3.
All right.
Split down the middle.
Tom, just so you know, Super Mario Brothers 2 was originally called Doki Doki Panic in Japan, and they just put in the different sprites for the Mario gang. So there's a little bit of worthless knowledge for you.
Personally, I love it. I think it's a fantastic game.
Do you know why they did that instead of releasing Super Mario 2, the original Japanese version? Because they thought Americans were not.
Yeah, they thought it was too hard. Yeah, it was too hard.
That might be true. We kind of suck.
Yeah.
You can check out my video game blog on blog. It's in a video game blog.
Where does Captain Lou Albano fit in there?
Captain Lou comes later.
Okay, much later.
Much later. The film's original director of Halloween 3, Joe Dante, approached Nigel Neal to write the film while Neal was temporarily living in Hollywood writing the remake of Creature from the Black Lagoon for director John Landis. That was never made due to budget cost. Dante wanted a new, different story than the 2 previous films in the series, so he suggested Neal write a treatment around the word Halloween. The producers liked the idea, and after Joe Dante moved on to another project, producer John Carpenter's regular collaborator, Tommy Lee Wallace, came in as the new director. Neal initially blamed the drastic changes to his script on executive producer Dano De Laurentiis not understanding his dialogue when it was translated to Italian. Neal requested his writing screen credit be removed once his comical mystery screenplay was rewritten by an uncredited Carpenter, and then later Wallace, who received sole screen credit as writer, to include more gore and simplify the story. So yeah, it kind of went through a little bit of development hell there.
But yet got made fairly quickly in
the
scheme of things. Like they were on to 4 not that far after. So much like franchises like that started to go, and I think this is 82, something like that.
Yes. Let me see. I'll make sure I tell you.
Yeah, it's 82.
Yeah, 82. Yep.
I don't know. For some reason, it was one of those times where it was like, we got to make something. And so they got to this point like, okay, well, if not Michael Myers, what?
Yeah.
And I think, under the pressure, they did pretty good. And I think, the people like myself who come to appreciate it, really come to appreciate it. And I think it's a fun part of cinema, especially horror cinema. You could talk forever about franchises and whatnot. But.
Oh, yeah. All right, let's move on to our second round, which is acting.
Oh boy, I'm so excited! So the acting in both these movies is so good.
Yes.
I
agree.
I thought the guy that plays Tom Atkins, he was really good. He was kind of like what's the name of the guy? Bronson, Charles Bronson. He was kind of like a cleaned up Charles Bronson, I thought. So did pretty good there. And then the guy that plays Mo, Michael Moriarty.
I love Michael Moriarty.
I'm not beating now sarcasm off. Michael Moriarty did a really great job. It's probably like the best element out of both of these movies combined. He was really fun to watch, and he just had a very natural presence on the screen. I actually went to his IMDb and looked up other movies that he was in, and then I was like, well, he was in one good movie. So I thought his acting was really good. A lot of the other people really kind of sucked. And it's funny because Michael Moriarty was in the movie with the kid that's in the stuff was not good at all, I thought.
No.
For example, when he gets sealed inside the tanker truck,
yeah,
I dropped what I was doing and just covered my hands, put my hands to my face because I had like a panic attack when that happened. So I'm a little claustrophobic, and then when I saw that happen, I was like, oh my god, that's like my nightmare. and I was like, good job. I actually kind of had an emotional reaction to this horror movie, but the kid was just like, oh no. So clearly my Red Bulls kicked in. Why doesn't somebody else talk for a little bit?
I thought Mo sucked.
What?
I did.
No, you're just being contrary.
No, I'm not.
You're just disagreeing with everything I say tonight.
No.
Yes.
In my notes.
Even now, he's being contrary.
Quit your Red Bull intake. This is ridiculous. I thought Mo was terrible. It was like his accent was bad. It was going in and out. It was downright.
I loved it though. I loved it.
Oh,
Michael Moriarty is a weird actor, and I think he kind of screwed himself like David Caruso did in some ways. Like he was so cocky, but yet, at least from what I saw, like not the best. Like I don't know. That's what I thought.
Yeah, it was. I know this film was made cheaply, but it was a miscast in my opinion.
Yeah, I have mixed feelings about it because I found him to be the most entertaining of the actors to watch, but it was a little bit weird. The characterization was a little bit weird. I think he has a hard time. For me, he had a hard time pulling off, confident, cocky,
and sleazy in some way.
Yeah, I think I felt like he had a hard time pulling that off. I like him in like Law and Order and that kind of thing. I think that character works for him, but in the stuff, I didn't hate watching him, but I just didn't feel like it was he was maybe the strongest choice for that character. I don't know.
Yeah, I think the acting in general in the stuff was a little inferior to Halloween 3.
Agree.
I think the actors painted a better kind of tapestry, even though it was absurd. And, obviously not just a little bit center of reality, but to me enjoyable from, the owner of Silver Shamrock, Daniel Hurley is Colonel Cochran, and Tom Atkins. He believed at least his character believed he was as cool as he thought. I think he did have a members only jacket. But at that time it was cool. So, just going by that, that was a good indicator there.
Yeah. Did you think it was kind of a weird choice? Now, this may have been a directorial thing, but for his character, I guess I don't know what what his character was supposed to be like, but he was a doctor, and I would assume that he would see all kinds of things that may kind of upset us, but he's maybe more used to. But like he would see things and kind of get in this like kind of catatonic state. He would see something and almost kind of like melt down and do nothing. And I felt like, if he wants to save this girl and he wants to get away from these robots, he would probably try to fight a little bit more. But instead, when he was overwhelmed, he would kind of shut down, and I thought that was kind of a weird choice. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I do. Sometimes he would fight back, but you're right. It's weird at what points he would be kind of casual about, ER duty, and then some of the stuff with the robots would be like, oh, like it was.
Yeah.
I kind of always liked his overacting as a kid. Like when I saw this on Cinemax and whenever it would come on, since, like the first time I was able to tape it on a VHS tape, I thought it was awesome because I was like, this movie is so cool.
Maybe he was an android. Never thought about that. Plot twist.
Maybe he was. That would have been a kind of a Blade Runner style twist.
Well, what point was the girl actually turned into it? Was it right after she was taken? Was she real at the beginning?
Yeah, was she ever real?
Dude, he totally banged her like 3 times in that movie. She was real at the beginning.
Oh, he would have known, right? He knows robot pussy. When he like, grab him by the robot pussy. That's all you got.
No. Now, don't underestimate the writing in Halloween 3. They laid that out with the way he interacted with many women. He obviously knew his way around the vagina, and if it was full of wires and circuit boards, his penis would have noticed.
That's true.
So,
I never thought of that, Tom, and I've seen that movie like 100 times. So
see, and it's all laid out for you. So that's how they tell you that yes, she was switched at the end.
Nice.
So is she dead?
Yeah, or was she just?
Did he just blow her up on accident at the factory?
Yeah. She was alive, and then he blew her up.
Right. Well, I mean, was that? I mean, in order to make these androids, did he need to use like actual human parts? So did he actually turn her into an android, or did he just make an android that looked just like her? We don't
Probably
know.
just
Well, that
like
seems
her,
really
'cause
counterproductive, doesn't it?
the gears and the neck, or like when they would show someone else, they just had wire instead of like internal organs, like just a big.
Right.
Remember, like when he would pull out the cord from the middle of their chest cavity.
Yeah.
But are you saying they took all the skin off, Gabe, and then put it over a shell of?
Yeah. Did they use her body parts in some way or
Oh.
another? Like
Because he mentions
build
that.
an
He's like,
android and yeah.
he said the insides were easy, and it took a while to get the outsides to look real.
Oh.
He did
Mike
say that
Mike
in the
doesn't know
elevator.
this because Mike never made it this far. But yeah,
No.
so
Oh, you didn't get that far in it?
No.
no, he didn't. He didn't finish it, asshole.
I didn't know which one he didn't.
Sorry,
finish.
I didn't get to finish it.
Well, I'm hoping to go back someday, maybe next Halloween, and watch it because it's a lot of fun.
I neglected children today to get these two movies watched. So I'm gonna totally give you shit the rest of the night.
Fun fact, Stacey Nelkin is married to Barry Bostwick. There you go.
Still?
Yeah,
Are they
that's what it says.
That's awesome.
So I'm going through some of the top actors in each film and looking up what they've done since then. Tom Atkins has been in Lethal Weapon. He's in a lot of John Carpenter stuff. And let's see here. Dan O'Harley, who plays Colonel Cochran, has been in a ton of stuff. He was actually in Failsafe. Do you guys know what movie I'm talking about there with Walter Matthau and Henry Fonda?
Mm-hmm.
And he was in one of my favorite films from the 80s, The Last Starfighter. He's in
Love that
RoboCop.
movie.
Didn't we do Failsafe versus Dr. Strangelove?
No, that was on our list. We haven't done that yet.
Oh, that would be a good show.
Yeah. Michael Moriarty, of course, you already talked about his time on Law and Order. He was also in Pale Rider, Courage Under Fire. Tosh, are you wrestling like a polar bear or something?
No.
Oh, I keep hearing shuffling from your microphone.
That was perfect timing on your answer, Tosh.
No.
The pause was great.
Yeah.
Because it kind of implies that maybe you are wrestling a polar bear.
Yeah, it does.
Um,
It does.
It could be the Yeti you were talking about earlier.
Yeah, it could be. Chocolate Chip Jones, I just want to point out, is in Two Broke Girls, and he was also in Ant-Man. Let's see. He's
He's one of the original members of Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, one of the original members. There you go.
Garrett Morris, yeah.
And
awesome.
I've worked with Paul Sorvino before, and I really like Paul Sorvino. He's a super nice guy. Andrea Markovic, I don't know. She's actually in a Woody Allen film. And then there's a whole, but everyone has a ton of TV time. Like, they actually cross paths in a lot of the TV episodes too. So that's what I've been doing while you guys have been talking about it, since I didn't feel I should say anything since I didn't get to see Halloween 3 all the way through as far as the acting is concerned.
Sam, when I was younger, my grandma had HBO and Cinemax, and our house didn't have cable because we didn't have that option. But when I was go over to her house, she would have we had to watch HBO and Cinemax. I remember watching Halloween 3 when I was younger at her house, and it's a pretty cool story that you did the same thing. It's small world.
Well, and it's so weird the way media is received now. Like a smaller movie like this may have done better, or, but between Cinemax and the video stores, like that was my outlet to the world. And like, as a horror fan, it was, I didn't have a lot of my own horror movies because my parents liked them, but they didn't own them. So And we, like I said, it took for a while for us to even get a VCR, and then do you remember how cool you felt when you were taping for the VCR the first time?
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Make sure it was on SP because that was the best quality. Right. EP, you could get more on there, but SP was better quality. Yep.
Right.
Do you remember how much VHS, like if you were going to buy a movie on VHS, do you remember how much they used to cost?
Oh, God, yeah. Like hundreds of dollars.
Yeah.
Well, if they were rental only, it could be, but most of them retail between like $20 and $60, with $60 being the high end.
Yeah.
Well, they would have
VHS,
they had a 90 to 100-day rental window when they were $120 to prohibit people from buying them, and then after that time period passed, they would drop the price and people could buy them themselves. But that was a deal that Blockbuster had set up with them to promote rentals, which was kind of fucking ridiculous. Where's Blockbuster?
Yeah. Right. Well, some of them you couldn't order them on the regular market. Some of them were just for distribution through rental stores only.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why they would be a higher price. So like that, and plus it was for rental, so it'd be $100 for say Stuff or Faces of Death or whatever they'd stock the horror shelves with at that time.
Right.
I'm sorry. I just saw Tosh is live with this video. And he is wrestling a polar bear.
Yes,
it's awesome. All right, let's go ahead and vote, guys. Tom.
What are you voting on?
Acting.
Acting. I forgot which category we're on. Gotta give it to the Stuff because Mo's awesome.
All right. Sam.
I'm going to go with Season of the Witch.
All right. Tosh.
Season of the Witch.
Gabe.
I'm finding Tosh distracting right now.
It's mesmerizing, isn't it?
Oh, he's gone.
Oh,
I'm going to go with The Stuff.
All right. Wow, you guys are all tied up. According to Larry Cohen himself, in some scenes in which the Stuff chases characters, a foam made of blended fish bones was used. It stank so much that as soon as the shots were done, the actors ran to a river in order to bathe and get rid of the stench. That sounds disgusting.
Yeah. What about ground fish bones makes a good foam?
I don't know.
That's what
I don't know. No idea. All right, let's move on to our third round, which is directing.
I think both of these films, especially The Stuff, could have benefited for a little bit more direction. I feel that in the matter to get their film made quickly, they kind of probably cut some corners, and some of that to me didn't come together. I guess overall would be more visual effects. Is that right?
Yeah, I think so.
Mm-hmm.
Visual effects and music and
yeah.
And cinematography would also be overall?
Cinematography is usually in directing.
So let's talk about cinematography and Dean fucking Cundey, who went on to Jurassic Park and a ton of other shit. But he shot the shit out of this movie, Season of the Witch, that doesn't have a lot more hanging on it. Like, I think his treatment of it is part of it why I enjoy so much, is because he was able to tell a broad story, even just with setting and his positioning, like, than the story had there. I think he helped fill a lot of that in and also make the best use of the spaces. Like, even in studios, it's kind of weird. Some of those shots could have been kind of weird, but I felt that he brought you could start to see the blossoming of that eye before just a few years later he'd go on to make some of the biggest films in Hollywood history.
Yeah, I definitely agree that the cinematography was pretty decent throughout in Halloween 3. The cinematography in The Stuff was serviceable. I didn't, and I think it varied a lot. And I'm not sure what kinds of things, where this falls on the spectrum of cinematography. Near the end, again, I felt like it kind of fell apart at the end. I'm not quite sure why. I don't know if they shot chronologically and they were running out of time or what. But there were a few shots at the end where it looked like the shot had been framed differently, but they wanted a more of a close up, so they zoomed way in on the frame.
On her when she was screaming.
Yeah, and there were a couple of others right in that same sequence near the end where it looked like they kind of did that. And I'm like, is that a mistake? I mean, did they not get the shots that they wanted on the set, or did they change their mind, or was there a continuity thing they were trying to hide? Like, if we don't show that part of the frame, they won't know that it's a continuity problem.
Well, and
yeah, but it was really tight on her. I mean, you can usually tell from the graininess they really blew it up. So
right,
I don't know. They must have been hiding, I don't know, something nasty in the background. So.
And I have to agree with Sam, just from seeing only half of Halloween 3. The cinematography compared to the stuff felt more TV. It felt more made for TV than a film.
It really did.
Yeah.
I was going to ask about that in the next category. Maybe we can talk about that in more detail in the next category.
All right.
Because when it started, I'm like, was this actually a TV movie? But I don't think it was. It just really felt like it.
Yeah, it was, and it was just a lower budget, I believe, for the stuff by quite a bit, because Universal was pumping out Halloween 3. So at that point, money was no issue for them, which in some ways has always impressed me about more of an independent type film, which the stuff was. Like, I rented it at Movies to Go, and I remember how awesome it was when I'd seen the box and just. I don't know. I always kind of I was taken by the thought of you eating something. So in some ways, I think, back to the directing side, I don't know. I don't think the kid was used very well, and some of that may be writing, but I think a lot of it's also directing. Mm-hmm. And then, Mo was he was enjoyable to watch. I'll definitely give you that. Like, it was, he was kind of inhabiting his own world, but then, like, a lot of the crossover wasn't necessarily there, and I felt when you get to this end, it does just kind of fall apart, and you're like, oh, so now he's like the kid's a little vindictive son of a bitch and is going to kill them, and then okay, see ya. It's like, oh,
I guess we accomplished our goal.
All right.
I do feel like a lot of the directing choices just weren't there really for either film. The direction of the actors, it didn't seem like necessarily, especially in the stuff, that it was a little inconsistent at times, and I feel like maybe they, that's a directorial thing. The shot choices, the editing. The one thing I noticed about, and I don't know if this is in this category either, but maybe it is. The other thing that maybe made it feel like a TV movie with the stuff is that the pacing. I like a movie that is well paced, that doesn't linger on anything that it doesn't have to, that isn't meaningful. But the stuff was almost like the pacing was almost like too fast.
Right.
It went from thing to thing to thing, like almost too quickly. Like, how did they get here? How did he go? How did he go from that bar to the city and almost getting run over by that stuffed van?
Yeah, there was a lot of missing time. Like, it jumped a lot.
Yeah, very quickly. And like I said, I like something that's got a good pace to it, but I felt like it was like, oh yeah, we're jumping now. We're going a little too quickly here. And I felt a little bit the opposite actually for Halloween 3. I felt there were times where they lingered on shots or moments where they probably could have moved on a little bit more quickly. They didn't need to spend so much time on that. They were stretching a little bit. So I felt like the pacing for Halloween 3 was a little bit slow at times. And the stuff was just like...
Where in Halloween 3 do you think it was slow?
I felt like there were... like when they were in the factory and he, that he was escaping and they had to show him going over all these different...
It's building suspense, Gabe.
I know. But and that's true. And I noticed it in particular in this film that there were times where, things took longer to build suspense, and I realized that that's what was happening. But there's also a part of me that's like, at this time now, when that was made, that may have worked really well, but it's almost a little bit cliche now. You know, where you're kind of drawing this out, like everybody's like waiting. Oh, I know something's going to happen, but we're just waiting for it.
Right.
You know, it's almost a little bit cliche now because we've seen it so many times.
I miss it.
If you have a problem with the pacing of Halloween 3, check it out on YouTube, because whoever uploaded it screwed something up, and it actually runs at like 120% normal speed.
Oh.
I watched the whole thing. It's 93 minutes regularly. I watched it at 72. So
There you go. Wow. Are
And
you
the
sure they
fact that-
screwed that up, or do you think? Because I've heard about people doing that, where they'll watch movies at 125% speed so they can get through it faster.
It's probably, if I had to guess anything, it's to keep the YouTube, copyright searchers, who they look for the audio fingerprint on files to track down copyrighted files. They may have done that because then it wouldn't match up. I've seen people do that with music, and that's what I'm guessing. Oh my God, Dino De Laurentiis produced Halloween 3?
Yes.
Oh, that fucking asshole! Oh my God!
But the main producer was Mustafa Akkad, who produced all the original Halloween films.
Okay.
Why?
What? Dino De Laurentiis?
Yeah.
He was that asshole. Remember when we watched the Side by Side?
Oh, yes.
He was that asshole that was like, I don't want filmmaking to become more democratic, and a bunch of idiots. I'm like, what good movies have you made, asshole? Huh? Let's look at your IMDb, you fucking prick.
Jesus.
How do you really feel?
I hope he's a
Sorry.
listener.
I don't like Dino at all, and Deborah Hill's all right. Yeah.
I've been going through cinematographer stuff. So real quick, this is short. So Paul Glickman was the cinematographer for The Stuff. Afterwards, he didn't do too much after that. He did direct, I think in the same year, 1 year before, Perfect Strangers, which is not, I was thinking of the show, not the movie. He did a lot of stuff beforehand, like 60s, 70s, 80s, and then stops in 86 and doesn't come back up until 2001. And then Sam already mentioned Dean Cundey, but holy crap. Halloween, The Fog, Escape from New York, Halloween 2, The Thing, Halloween 3, The Invisible Woman, Psycho 2, DC Cab, Romancing the Stone, Back to the Future, Big Trouble in Little China, Project X, Big Business, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Roadhouse, Back to the Future 2, Citizen Soldier, Back to the Future Part 3, Nothing But Trouble, Hook, Death Becomes Her, Jurassic Park, The Flintstones, Casper, Apollo 13, Flubber, The Parent Trap, Battlestar Galactica, The Second Coming, which was a short, some West Wing stuff, Spy Next Door. Let's see.
He got into that Zemeckis Spielberg crowd at the right time.
Yeah, Jack and Jill, which I think he'd probably want buried.
You can stop there. You can stop there.
You can stop well before there, probably.
The car
Diablo?
is cleared the cliff.
He's the director of photography for the live action. Oh, nope, not that one. All right. Diablo. And holy crap. And then he's doing some short called Weddings, Inc. So that's kind of right up your alley there, Tom.
Never heard of it.
Wedding Alley?
Weddings, Inc. is the name of it. But yeah, oh my God. That's amazing. Absolutely amazing. And then the directors, Tommy Lee Wallace of Halloween 3 went on and directed the first and second parts of Stephen King's It. He did Vampires, which I don't know if any of you remember that. For some reason, it sticks out in my head. He did an episode of Baywatch, Max Headroom, Twilight Zone, and then the director of The Stuff really did not go on. Larry Cohen really, well, he has phone. Oh, he went into writing. So he wrote Phone Booth, Captivity, Cellular. Those are about, and nope.
So he kept Colin Farrell in business.
Yeah, Maniac,
No.
Maniac Cop 2, Maniac Cop 3.
He lived next door to what's his name, Joel Schumacher.
Yeah, Maniac Cop. Like, yeah, like he was like, okay, directing's now. I'm gonna write. So there you go. A lot of TV stuff in there too. So, do you guys want to add anything else to the directing category?
Oh my God, we're only on directing.
Yes. After you blacked out for like 45 minutes and just spouted profanity towards Dino De Laurentiis. So.
Oh my God, don't say his name.
All right, let's go ahead and vote. Sam.
Halloween 3.
All right. Tosh.
Halloween 3.
Tom.
I'm gonna have to probably give it to Halloween 3.
All right.
Yeah, I think this is where the tie breaks. I'm going to give it to Halloween 3 as well.
All right. And I went ahead and asked and then totally forgot where my trivia was at. Let's see here. Sorry, guys. Talk amongst yourselves. Oh, yeah, here. This was the one, and I wanted to use this one for the acting part, but Arsenio Hall was considered for the role of Chocolate Chip. Yeah, that's awesome.
What? Bill Cosby now. How about Bill Cosby?
Arsenio Hall was really, really great in Amazon Women on the Moon. So
Yes, I love him in that. It's hilarious.
it's so fan. Bitch, don't live here.
And Coming to America, I think as an actor, Arsenio Hall's pretty good.
Oh, and here's another one I wanted to do for the acting. The voice of the operator that Chalice keeps getting when he tries to call out of Santa Mira is Jamie Lee Curtis.
Exactly, as well. And I just found this out recently, but I've always loved this part. But also, I think she's the announcer on the speaker that says, "Curfew, curfew, it's now curfew."
Oh, well, then that makes the series legitimate then. There it is.
And you have all these other people that were in 1, 2, and 3 in some way. Like you've got Jamie Lee Curtis, you got John Carpenter who produced and did the music.
Mm-hmm.
Then you've also got Jamie Lee Curtis now, and then also the mom to the kids. Linda is played by Nancy Keys, and she was in the first one, and her corpse was in the second one.
And
so she was in all 3.
There's actually twice in the movie you can see the original Halloween being played.
Mm-hmm.
One is actually a deleted scene that never made it into the theatrical cut, but it's still in there. All right, let's move on to our fourth and final round, much to Tom's chagrin. Overall,
I want to talk about the special effects in the stuff. I thought they were actually pretty good.
I was
They
surprised.
suck.
Are you kidding me?
Suck. They
They were
suck.
so much better than Hansel and Gretel, you dick.
You thought they sucked? Really?
I did. I thought like it was blob light at some point, and like some of the just like the green screen shots and the other stuff, like the scale shots, like we're just like, oh god, come on, don't show me this shitty stuff coming at these kids.
So my kids have been watching. They watched the original Ghostbusters and the original Ghostbusters 2. And if you remember in Ghostbusters 2, they had the blob river under the city.
Oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
That is terrible
It is.
compared to the stuff. I was watching something like that's not that bad for early 80s, really.
no, I have to agree with you, Tosh. I really like when they show it moving. Like
Right, and when they're
works
sucking
well.
it up out of the rock valley there, and obviously that was a effect they put on top of that shot. I thought that was pretty well done for the 80s.
I think it's half and half though. I think half of it does look good when it's moving in that room that turns upside down,
Yeah.
where they get a lot of those shots at. But also, though, sometimes when it was with the green screen or had the people in it at the end, I was not convinced by that. Like the borders of that lake of goo were kind of weird.
They were a
Probably
little
because
weird,
they're
yeah.
compositing.
Yep.
I mean, that's the time, so I give them that. But I think, I don't know, there's some of it, and maybe this was more of a director thing, like some of the shots on the green screen of the kid, like the blob coming after him. Or why the hell would the kid, and this goes back to writing, I'm sorry, but why would the kid get in that tanker thing that was open and then like jump in there like, oh, I guess I could get killed in here?
That was the only terrifying scene in both movies.
And I thought some of the miniature work was pretty good. I mean, there towards the end when they were blowing up stuff, you could see the models moving when they blew up. But I enjoyed some of the miniature work.
Well, and some of the, like the actual transformation of Chocolate Chip Charlie was just bad.
Oh,
And they used
That was
on
pretty
the
bad.
trailers, and it was for poor Garrett Morris, who beloved from Saturday Night Live at that point, is like, oh my God, this looked really bad.
yeah.
At that point.
Can we talk about the dog and how he went and unplugged the phone? Amazing.
Smart dog.
But there's one thing that bothered me about that. Not only was Danny Aiello getting eaten, but also the fact that the phone wasn't plugged into that cord. If you saw in the back, it was not connected. The cable wasn't connected to the phone.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't.
Thanks a lot, Mike. You just ruined the magic for me.
I thought that dog was really smart, and then you just went and ruined it. Gosh.
You ruined the whole movie.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
Big ruin.
Just call me Captain
That
Mopey
was
in the
the
Bring
only
Down Gang.
continuity mistake in the whole movie.
Yes, the only one.
Well, it was just weird because I think at some point the stuff felt like the Blob in between areas. Like I know it wasn't always supposed to be packaged, but that this got to me. It was more intimidating to me when they ate it and it took over their brains and maybe took over their bodies as opposed to continually oozing in and out. Because it wasn't clear. Some said, like they said, once your body's gone, it's gone. But obviously it was going in and out of other bodies.
Yeah.
So I was kind of confused by that. So,
It was kind of Invasion of the Body Snatchers meets the Blob.
right.
Yeah.
It was. Well, now it seems the only thing that could defeat the stuff was fire. And then if you had that on your face, would you want someone to pour kerosene?
Well,
on
she
your
did
face?
it. She
Yeah,
didn't
burn
even.
it.
He didn't even
I'm gonna
tell her
help you by
to.
burning your face.
It worked.
Yeah.
I guess.
I really don't.
Would they even have that? Would they even have those kind of lamps in hotels in the 80s? I don't remember.
I don't.
Gabe, you're old. Gabe, you're
They're
old.
not
You
going to
don't
have
remember.
kerosene. They wouldn't have had kerosene lamps there since like the 50s. Unless it was like maybe something on the wall for decoration.
No. I remember at my grandmother's house in the 80s, she had a kerosene lamp on her end table. It was a
But
thing
you would
that
have it. But you wouldn't have it in a hotel.
if it was like a rustic-y hotel, it could be kind of a decoration kind of
That
thing.
could
The
be.
Mana Colonies or something, right?
Yeah.
I really don't think we can complain about the effects of the stuff on people without also. What the fuck happened when you put a mask on and the commercial came on? Your head turned into bugs?
Yes. It's like
Yeah.
the power
Okay.
of that stolen artifact. Like it activated the chip in the back, which like lasered your brain and sometimes
That makes no sense. That makes no sense. The stuff actually was like a nice metaphor for, capitalism and gluttony.
Oh my god!
It was that was a
Go.
that
Yeah, but you
shut up, Tosh. So
you get a great jingle. Like both of these have good like little hooks and little commercials in them, but you don't get any better than
Speaking of that.
Silver Shamrock. Like I love it.
Let's talk
I'll
about the
agree
music a little bit.
the Silver Shamrock jingle was better, but I'm sorry, but what happens when you come in contact with the spooky things in each of these movies? The stuff made a lot more sense than whatever it is that happened to you when you. Oh my God, I'm remembering that movie now, and it's just I can't believe I just said that.
No, that's a good
God,
point.
I have
I'll
such
give you that. I'll give
I
you
have
that.
such a headache. I just said it made sense that it pours out of the bed and pins you to the wall. I don't
You guys think
understand
that?
why your head turns into bugs.
Yeah, I don't get that either. And snakes, bugs
Snakes
and
make
snakes.
Snakes
Sometimes
make
the snake-
sense. Snakes make sense.
Totally. Does anybody feel like maybe they played that Silver Shamrock jingle just one too many times?
Nope.
Like
Well, no.
oh my god!
No.
It's just-
enough.
It only played like 8 times. Sure, it played for a half an hour, like a half an hour.
oh god! I was like, okay, if I hear this one more time, my head is going to turn to bugs. I couldn't take it.
Gabe, I'm stealing your phone and swapping out your ringtone.
And then what? Did
It
you guys
actually
think of
appears
the-
14 times, Tosh. 14 times.
I was guessing. Okay, Mike,
Did you
Mister.
actually find it does play 14 times?
It does
literally?
play 14 times.
Which is about 13 too many. But
And it was-
Why are you such a hater, man?
oh god,
song
that
is
jingle.
Awesome.
Oh, I hated it. It drove me nuts. I was like, oh, do we really have to hear this again? Boop 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 boop. I'm like,
Yes.
please stop.
I love it.
And now, what do you guys think? What do you guys think of John Carpenter's score for the rest of the?
It was
I
good.
think
Love that.
it's definitely of the times. Like, you know,
Mhm.
we're looking at early 80s there. He started to incorporate synth kind of into Halloween 2 when he did the score there. So to me, it was a perfect extension and kind of a cool way for him to also come back. And in addition to just being a producer, he helped kind of craft that film. And again, I think in some way give it some authenticity so that people, you know, don't necessarily say, well, they tried to, you know, get Carpenter out of there. And that wasn't the case at all. He kind of like, they gave him so much freedom that he kind of was like, okay, I'm out for a while.
Yeah, I like John Carpenter's stuff. Like whenever he scores a film, I don't know. There's always a few pieces in there that I really enjoy. And I think that's why I like his films, is just because he's directing and he also does the music, which I just find intriguing. I don't know why.
There aren't many directors who do that.
No.
For sure.
Him and Robert
Did you
Rodriguez.
guys? Yeah, true. Did you guys find that it sounded a little bit like Terminator?
Mm-hmm.
I thought it sounded a lot like Terminator.
Yeah.
And I don't know which direction the influence went. If, you know, John Carpenter influenced Terminator or vice versa, or maybe neither. I don't know. Because they came out, I think they came out the same year, didn't they? Was Terminator 82 as well?
Terminator's 84.
Yeah.
84.
Yeah.
So maybe the Terminator, because I know it wasn't John Carpenter who did the music for that. So
That's where you got.
That's
where we get the idea from the robots from the future, from the
Uh-huh.
androids. From
Oh my
Season of the Witch.
God, John Carpenter and Halloween 3 were ripped off by
Yeah,
James Cameron.
it's obvious. Yep, James Cameron.
Yeah.
No way, James Cameron stole an idea from somebody? Get out!
What is he, a Michael Bay or something?
No way! That's crazy like that. Because Dances with Wolves meets the Smurfs as Avatar.
That's true. That's true.
And you got to give synthesizer credit to Bob Moog, the godfather of synthesizers, who created it. So
True.
Well, again, it's of the time, and I think it went overlooked in a lot of ways because this movie had such a handicap coming out as a Halloween movie instead of its own thing, and so a lot of really good work kind of was like ignored. And you can kind of go back and appreciate it. I think some people can, and of course, they're not a fan of the genre. They might not even go there in the first place, or they may hate it, like the majority. Not the majority, but I feel bad. I feel like I always have to stand up for both of these movies sometimes, but it seems like the stuff is actually, I was surprised to see better received in a lot of ways than Halloween 3.
can you tell me more about these people who aren't a fan of the genre and don't ever wind up watching this? Like, do they have meetings or something that I could attend? I'm looking for a group of like-minded people. So. I'm not a horror fan, and I'll be honest, if it wasn't for Tosh, I don't know if I'd do the Halloween show on this anymore. So
Oh, that means something.
it was an empty compliment. Don't read too much into it.
Don't flatter yourself.
I used to always be scared of horror movies and hate them until, you know, one day I watched, and I'm sure I've told the story on this podcast many times. One day at a church lock-in or a Boy Scout lock-in, someone rented Faces of Death, and after I saw that, like I was immune to anything and really started to get into horror, which, like Wes Craven would say, it's a gallows humor somewhere. In some ways, you can find some dark humor in some of those areas. And I know, like, Tosh, does anybody on this podcast like horror films or watch them regularly?
No.
I like them. I don't watch them, like, seek them out, but yeah, I like them. I'm more a fan of the 80s horror, like the Freddys and Jasons and all that. The new stuff, I don't really get into, but 80s and earlier, I'm in.
Yeah, I'm not personally a huge fan. I don't watch a lot of horror films. Some of them I enjoy, but not very often. Especially if they're just kind of gore, splatter kind of things. It's like they're just trying to gross people out. What was the one we watched? Was it Evil Dead? I think it was Evil Dead.
Yeah.
They took the remake of Evil Dead.
Right, with Poochie.
And to me, I thought it was that was just like, okay, they're just trying to go over the top. Like, how much fake blood can we put in this?
Oh, right.
thing?
They were trying to break a record there.
Yeah, and it's like that doesn't impress me very much.
If the original Evil Dead, like you go back to that. That's cutting edge cinema that brings together a different subsection of cinephiles or cinema fans, which I always found was very interesting. Like you look at original Evil Dead or Night of the Living Dead, for that matter, that kind of brought this kind of group together in a weird way.
Right.
Still appreciating the cinema, but just in a different way.
Yeah, and Evil Dead, it was fun and unique, because it was a horror film, but it was also kind of funny, and it didn't take itself too seriously, and it was, it kind of embraced the camp of it, and that's what made it kind of enjoyable, whereas the remake was like kind of overly serious. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like it took itself overly seriously and it lost all of the humor that was in the original to me, and replaced it with just gore and that kind of thing, which is a loss.
I'm not that big of a horror fan. I mean, I do like John Carpenter's stuff.
You are a whore, though.
I am a whore. I love Sam Raimi stuff, like Evil Dead 2, and of course Army of Darkness, which I don't think you could even consider a horror movie. It's more of a comedy. But I will watch some of the bigger films, I guess. I never really got into the 80s or 90s stuff. I had a friend that was really big into Hellraiser. And I tried watching that once, and I was like, "Nope, I'm out." Like that just totally turned me off from the horror genre, I guess. Although every once in a while I'll see something that I like, and I'll put it down on the list of the horror films I've seen that and actually enjoyed. But the ones that always get me are the ones where it's not necessarily a supernatural element or hack and slash or anything. It's when it's just some psychotic man or woman, and it's just too regular. They're just a regular person, but they do extraordinary things to other people. That's what really intrigues me. Like I'm trying to think of the Ed Norton film that I would almost consider a horror film with Richard Gere.
Primal Fear.
Primal Fear.
Yeah.
Like that.
Gerbil Fear?
Gerbil Fear, yes. Is just
that story is not true. You
brilliant.
leave Richard Gere alone.
You can only hear the Richard Gere gerbil story so many times before you gotta start believing it.
Yeah.
That's from Scream.
You leave him alone.
So yeah. You guys want to add anything else to overall? I mean, would any of you rewatch these?
Yes, probably not.
No.
But I want one thing I wanted to say about this the stuff is I liked the I'm not quite sure the right term. Maybe you guys can correct me. The graphic design, the visual design of it, and the consistency of that throughout.
Like of the branding of the stuff itself. Yeah, I love the art direction. Wouldn't that be
art direction? There, that's
art
what I was
department.
looking for. Yeah, I thought they did a really good job with that because it was consistent and carried out through the entire film in many, even sometimes subtle ways. For instance, they're driving the tanker, or there was one vehicle that I remember. It was subtly branded. It might have been like a limo or something. I don't remember exactly. But
the limo
vehicle
did have like a pink trim. Like the limo was done out too. I noticed that too.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, I really like that. That's one of those small touches that kind of brings that thing all together, you know.
Yeah.
And so I enjoyed that part of the stuff, the art direction of it. So I guess that was it.
That's all you wanted.
I don't remember the music and the stuff.
I don't remember it either, at all.
So it was not. Maybe there wasn't much of it.
Yeah, it wasn't really memorable. Let's put it that way. All right, let's put it to a vote. Tosh.
Halloween 3.
Tom.
Stuff.
Of course.
Gabe.
I'm a little bit split because if I had to rewatch, I would probably want to rewatch this stuff.
There it is. That's a vote. That's good, Jeff. Okay, moving on.
All right.
Yeah, I'm good. I don't know. Yeah, I'm gonna. I'll go with this stuff. I don't know. I'm totally
you need.
Can I do a half vote for each one?
Sam.
Halloween 3.
All right. And I will finish watching Halloween 3. I can't leave a movie half done. But I did enjoy. I would rewatch the stuff. If it came on, I would probably have a good time watching it.
This is absolutely ridiculous. Before we get to the results, I just want everyone listening to know that this podcast is rigged.
It's rigged.
It's a rigged podcast.
It's a rigged podcast.
Go to your polling stations and watch.
Yes.
It has nothing to do with the quality of the movies at hand. It was rigged from the beginning.
It was rigged.
I've been eating the stuff all week. I can't get enough.
You know, it's funny how
that's not the stuff, Gabe.
The stuff is a weird parallel to member berries. If anyone's following South Park.
Yes. Which,
oh my gosh!
By the way, one of the
berries.
best seasons ever so far, in my opinion.
I haven't seen this yet.
Would you like? Sorry, would you like to vote for the giant douche, or the shit sandwich? That makes me laugh so hard. All right, well, screw it. I've run out of trivia. There's tons of it, but we'll go ahead and hit our recommendations, and I'll go first. I am going to recommend. It's not a horror film. It's a new show on TV. It's called The Director's Chair, and it's done by Robert Rodriguez, who I already mentioned once. I can't go through an episode of Cinesmack without mentioning his name. He sits down and actually talks with directors. They just talk face-to-face about their films, about how they got into film, and you kind of see behind the director and what drives them. Robert hosts, and so far they've had Quentin Tarantino on, John Carpenter, Guillermo del Toro, Francis Ford Coppola, Michael Mann, Sylvester Stallone, Luis Valdez, and Robert Zemeckis. And it's on the El Rey Network, which is a network that Robert started. I would highly recommend watching it. I really enjoyed it. You kind of get to see behind the scenes, you know, and some of the troubles and what really drove these directors to get certain films done and why they wanted to do them. So check out The Director's Chair. Tom.
So I'm not a big fan of horror movies, but I have this cool litmus test because, you know, where does Gen X end and where do millennials begin? Well, I have a cool little litmus test for you. What you do is you walk up to somebody and go, hey, have you seen the Blair Witch Project? And if they say, it sucks, they're a millennial. And if they loved it, they were Gen Xers, because Gen Xers have a better imagination. And I think that the movie scares Gen Xers better because we have better imaginations. And I think millennials are desensitized to that kind of stuff, and they can't think for themselves. So,
wow. All right. So
I want to recommend the Blair Witch Project because I love it. It scares the shit out of me, even though at its heart there's really nothing going on for 90 minutes, but I absolutely love it. And so that's my little litmus test. It's like the Ewoks for the generation before us, you know, that there's, you know, whether or not you like the Ewoks in Return of the Jedi. So my recommendations, Blair Witch Project. Unless you're a millennial, then you probably don't have Netflix anyway because you're in your parents' basement. So.
Actually, Tom, it's funny you bring up the Blair Witch. I was just thinking about that. Mark, who used to be on the show, his sister went to see it, and he had already seen it, so he made the sign. He put together stick and rope and hung it outside the house. And when she came home that night, it was hanging out there, and she screamed in the front yard for 10 minutes. That movie freaks me out. Like, I have trouble watching it. You know, I said I'm not a fan of horror films, but I needed to see the Blair Witch because it was such a phenom, would you say? I heard the second one isn't that good. You know, they kind of take everything that everyone else has done to their genre and throw it in there. That last scene when she's just screaming Mike and he's standing in the corner. Oh my God, I'm getting goosebumps right now. So thanks for that, Tom. Gabe.
Okay, I'm not a huge fan of horror films either, so I don't watch a lot of them. And so it's hard for me to recommend something that's similar to these. But horror films for me are a little bit like what Mike was talking about earlier. They're a little bit more psychological, or they're in some ways maybe a little bit more grounded in reality, maybe. This will just contradict what I said, but for instance, to me, a horror film is something like Alien.
Oh, yeah.
Where it's like, okay, yeah, there's this creature, but it's creeping around in the dark, and we don't know what it can do, and we don't know where it is, and it something like that builds a lot of suspense to me. And it's also films. I'm going to recommend one that I don't think I've recommended before, although maybe I did. Seven by David Fincher. That has got to be one of the creepiest movies that I've ever seen.
Oh,
it's very
bad. Oh, yeah.
It's very disturbing in many ways, but it's very engaging at the same time.
What's in the box?
And to me, what's that?
What's in the box?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so Seven to me is what a horror film should be. But it eschews the gore and the blood and the creatures and that kind of thing, and brings it down a little bit more to earth.
And it also lets your imagination go, like kind of what Tom was saying with Blair Witch. Like, they don't show you everything. Like, especially when that guy's talking about what he had to do with the prostitute. Oh, that's cringy. Like, horrible.
Yeah, and you don't see any of it.
Right.
I mean, her body is under a sheet or whatever. You don't actually see any.
Yes.
And then
That movie's 21 years old now.
Oh, thanks.
Jesus.
Thanks for that, Tosh. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Really?
I bring us back.
Yeah.
1985.
Sam.
Oh, crap.
Well, one of my favorite horror films of all time is one that I end up watching every year. And it's one that also meant a lot to me when I was going through film school, when I was first starting to analyze how much of an impact that the motion picture can have on someone. It can make them laugh, it can make them cry, and sometimes it can scare the hell out of them. And in 1974, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre was produced. And this film is, again, one that I watch every year and find something new almost every time I do watch it. It's very smartly put together in an independent type way, in a time when those type of films rarely made it outside of the territories that they were in. It's been remade and rebooted, which have some of their own kind of interests. But the original film that was made in 1974, and I believe and shot on Super 16 and then blown up to 35 for the print, it's a very visceral experience. And it is scary. If people don't like horror films, they may shy away from this film, because even though they don't show a lot of the gore, the implied gore in this film makes you feel as though you've seen something very nasty, when, much like Hitchcock would employ, where they would show you the before and possibly some of the after, you never actually see things, but you would swear in one sequence that you see a hook go through a young like a meat hook go through a young woman's body.
Mhm.
When they show you the hook before and a cut of her midsection and then her grasping at the pole, but they never show the actual event, because
Yep.
what happens in your mind is scarier than anything that a filmmaker could create on set. So I think that the film is filled with a lot of that and a lot of spirit that comes from being on a set where independent filmmakers get behind an idea that they know is interesting to them and band together in adverse circumstances to bring it to the world. And the backstory about how this got out afterwards and how people bought it involves like the mob and people getting killed and all kinds of stuff. It's a fascinating story. It's one of the best horror films ever made. It's a Texas Chainsaw Massacre from 1974.
That's a really good pick, Sam. That's one of the few films that I have watched and, also felt very uneasy, I guess. We watched it one time for a film class, and you're right. It's totally about the edit in that film. It's totally about what they want you to see, and then let you think up the rest. Kind of the way Hitchcock did it. All right, Tosh.
My film is from 2013. It's called Hansel and Gretel.
If you're not going to take this serious, we're not going to invite you back.
Some people love this movie on this podcast. Tom, some of us hate it. Some of us hate it. Okay, no, seriously, I'm gonna do a TV series.
No, you already had your pick.
Nope.
Mike, write it down that his official pick was Hansel and Gretel.
Thank you, Tosh. We're moving on.
Nope. Because we're talking to watch so many things about androids and robots. My pick is Westworld, the TV series on HBO. We are through 3 episodes on this new series. It's J.J. Abrams production with Chris Nolan's brother. Joel Nolan is running it, and it is fantastic. Definitely check it out. It's the pilot is probably one of the best pilots I've ever seen of a TV series, and it was amazing, and it's still amazing. We're just peeling back layers very slowly, and really enjoying it.
I'm waiting for the full run to be done this season so I can just turn on HBO Go and binge watch it.
Yep.
Yeah, I've heard great things. Also, it was a Michael Crichton novel, and the original film starred Yul Brynner.
Directed by Michael Crichton.
That's right. Holy crap. Yeah. You're right. Yeah.
And it wasn't very good, the movie. But
for a concept, it was damn good. And the thing is, like, I think it was just him not necessarily getting all the resources, but yet not. I don't know. I mean, I like the. I'm so glad that it brought us this, because I have seen the first episode of this series, and I love it. Like, it's again another hit from HBO, who found kind of something good to invest in as a past work of, taking something that maybe didn't quite work and making it better, instead of taking something that was a blockbuster and making a shittier version of it.
Right.
Yep. Yep. So definitely check that out. And if you want to see a really sucky movie, go watch Hansel and Gretel. Okay, I'm out.
Oh man!
Boom!
Wow!
Explosion in your face, Tom.
Some people don't like. Some people don't like.
Some call it the stuff right in your face.
You know what? Some people don't like.
Salty and creamy coming at you. Boom!
If I don't say anything, he wins. Do you understand?
Tom, though, when Hansel and Gretel 2 comes out, you and I, we're in the theaters, right? Definitely.
I hope it's in 3D, because...
Oh, man, I can't wait. Which is in 3D. Woo!
Gemma's ass, right there.
Stuff in 3D.
Let's move on. Let's find out who won. All right, here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? Your winner by decision is Halloween 3, Season of the Witch.
What'd you say?
I said it's 12 months till October. I get 12 months off after this one.
No, I came back in March last year. Watch out.
Tom.
Yes.
Go ahead and tell people where they can send you some stuff.
Usual stuff, usual places, Vimeo, Facebook. Usually people can find me wreaking havoc in the yogurt section at your local Fairway. I'm the one in the pumpkin mask, if you're wondering. So there's usually more than one of us.
Carrying a rake.
If you want a quick link to the Cinema Smack Facebook page, just go to eatthestuff.com.
Nice. That's awesome. I forgot.
I'd like to take this opportunity to remind everybody that Albino Dictator expires like in 2 days, so you don't have to type that in anymore. The new one is eatthestuff.com.
I forgot.
That's a keeper. That's a keeper.
This is our annual website show.
I can't believe we actually got that one, to be honest with you. So.
That's true.
All right, we need to do a remake now.
Eatthestuff.com was $14. Eatstuff.com was $5,000. So I think I made a good deal here.
Yeah.
Eat stuff sounds disgusting.
All right, Gabe.
Yeah, it's called the stuff. So
where can people show up wearing scary masks that turns them into bugs?
Well, they can show up at Facebook if they want. And they can also find some of our 48-hour films at onegenomeshort.com.
All right. Thank you, Gabe. Sam, once again, thank you for being on. Thank you for choosing these films. I really did enjoy what I saw.
Thanks, Sam. It was great having you.
It's been great.
And
it's been great.
Where can people find you, Sam?
You can stalk me online if you want to. Not doing a lot of public things right now, but still working on independent film projects and things like that. Thank you for having me back on. It's been a lot of fun.
Are you allowed to talk a little bit about what you directed?
Sure. I directed 4 episodes of a new web series called Outed. They're about 10 to 12 minute webisodes that kind of revolve around a high school student that's outed at a party and how he deals with coming out of the closet, and it kind of examines their emotional relationships. I directed and produced the first 4, and we have at least the rest of the first season written. So we'll see where 2017 takes us. But we're fortunate to work with some SAG actors, and we had a nice waiver there that allowed us to work with some talent from all over the United States. And it was one of those kind of cool experiences that allowed me to do gay cinema, or a gay themed media piece, which I've never really gotten to do. And so just jumped at that chance.
Nice. I got to visit set a little bit after I got home from San Diego, and it was fun. It looked like everyone was having fun. So,
yeah, keep me updated.
Tosh.
You can reach me on Twitter. I'm there. Just search for my name. Or you can email me at dillingerT@IHateHanselandGretel.com.
Wow.
You don't own that website, you asshole. That show was 2 years ago. I cannot believe this keeps coming up.
It's gonna keep coming up every year, buddy.
Tosh, don't you
just
usually
like the stuff?
Don't you usually have a list? Did you do a list this year or no?
I usually do, and I did have one, but I didn't want to drag it out longer than it was. But I'll be back next year in full force. All
right, fair enough. Well, thanks for being on again.
Yep, thanks.
All right,
good to talk to you guys.
We would appreciate it if you could leave us a review on iTunes or whatever podcasting service you use. You can contact us at cinesmack@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Just search Cinesmack. And for November, we go all political as election takes on Ides of March. And it's going to be huge. It's going to be the biggest, the best episode ever. For Tom, Gabe, Sam, Tosh, and myself, thanks for listening, and go catch a flick.
Polar bears.
This has been a test of the Southsider Studios podcast system. This was only a test. If this were a true lack of entertainment, your head would explode. Go to iTunes and subscribe to our feed. Just search Southsider Studios.